Hello, everybody, and welcome to this Friday edition of the Logan Blackman Show. I hope you all had a fantastic couple weeks. It's kind of been a trend on the Logan Blackman Show to take an impromptu couple weeks break, but life's busy. Life's very, very busy, ladies and gentlemen. Now, we did get out a blog post last week. We've been very consistent with the blog post up to this point in the season, also on the YouTube videos as well. So with that being said, let's go over the housekeeping items before we get into the meat and potatoes section of this show. Make sure to follow Logan Blackman Show on every single form of social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, all that stuff, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all that great stuff. On Twitter, you can find me at Logan_Blackman. Instagram account's Blackman Logan. The show's Instagram account is The Logan Blackman Show. Facebook and YouTube, search Logan Blackman Show. Make sure you like and follow the Facebook page and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And once again, make sure to check out our Week 8 quarterback prospect rankings. They'll be coming out later today, so make sure to release the video of that, They'll be coming out later today, but the blog post itself is already up on the LoganBlackmanShow.com, so make sure to go to the website, check out our latest rankings. There will be links to all the rankings on social media as well, so you got to make sure to follow all those different accounts as well. Every Friday, there's a blog post and a YouTube video, so make sure you subscribe for all of that great stuff. But most importantly, make sure you follow and or subscribe to the Apple Podcast and or Spotify accounts. And make sure to leave a rating of 5 stars on both. That'd be awesome. Doesn't need to be a 5-star rating, but honestly, I appreciate that more than anything else you could possibly give me. Just leave a description down below on why you feel the way you do. Also, make sure to check out the Believe in Iowa podcast as well. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all that great stuff. YouTube as well, Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Make sure to leave a rating of 5 stars on there as well. And with that, I can't think of a better place to start than talking about the Iowa Hawkeyes, because it's a very big hot button issue recently. Not the Hawkeyes in general, but the main position that everybody in the sports world loves to criticize and love at the exact same time, and that is the quarterback position. And if you're not living under a rock, I guess you could say, you don't even need to live in the state of Iowa, but if you've been around college football long enough, let's say like the past 5 years or so, you would know that the quarterback position has been a massive problem area for the Iowa Hawkeyes. It's been a joke at points. Like, people have talked about like punting is winning because Iowa's offense is non-existent. Like, what offense? Like, what are we talking about here? Iowa doesn't have an offense. It was a running joke, not just a local thing, but it was a national thing as well. You would get. I remember seeing some political team, I don't remember who it was, posting about Iowa's offense being trash. It was like we're getting above the levels of sports trash talk and local trash talk to we're talking national and political trash talk. That's a whole nother level of quote-unquote ineptitude at the offense, but most notably the quarterback position, because in an offense, the most important piece is the quarterback. If you don't have a quarterback, then you don't really have an offense. Obviously, there's ways around it. If you have a good offensive line, you have a good receiver or two, or an elite running game, then you can kind of morph around that. And then for the past couple years, Iowa has been very good at running the football. Most notably last year with Caleb Johnson doing as well as he did, was a third-round draft pick by the Pittsburgh Steelers, has a poster of himself outside of Kinnick Stadium. Iowa's offensive line was good last year, really good this year, and the defense was not up to normal Iowa standards under Phil Parker, but it was still a good enough defense. And this year was kind of the time where you looked at Iowa on the opposite side of the ball and went, okay, they got themselves a quarterback. You got Mark Gronowski in from South Dakota State. And if you listen to the show back to when that happened, I was really hyped about Mark Gronowski coming in. I was extremely hyped about him coming into Iowa. I mean, I watched him at South Dakota State. He won 2 national championships there. He won 4 conference titles in his 4 years as a starter. And in South Dakota, during his tenure at South Dakota, they won 4 conference titles. He was there for 5 years. The only year they did not win a conference title just so happened to be the year he was recovering from a torn ACL. He also won the Walter Payton Award, which is the FCS Heisman Trophy. Like, he was that dude at South Dakota State. He's the all-time winningest quarterback in college football history. Like, he is that guy at the college football position, like at the quarterback position. He's a guy that you can look at and go, we're going to attach the trailer to you. You're not the trailer. You're the guy that we're going to hook the trailer to, and you're going to pull us along. And if you look at some of the other quarterbacks that Iowa's had since Nate Stanley, you're looking at Spencer Petras, you're looking at Cade McNamara, Deacon Hill, you're looking at Brendan Sullivan, you're looking at Jackson Stratton for that hot second. Alex Padilla was also in there. Like, there were a lot of quarterbacks that were coming in and out. Deuce Hogan was another one in there. There were a lot of quarterbacks in and around the University of Iowa football program that just weren't it. They weren't it. And Spencer Petras at the time, post Nate Stanley, because he was the guy that followed Nate Stanley, at the time was brought in to be this guy that everybody talked about as a guy that broke all of Jared Goff's high school records with the exact same high school as future number 1 overall pick Jared Goff, who has played in a Super Bowl, gone to a few NFC championship games as well. Like, this is a guy that broke all of those guys' records. And he's going to come into Iowa and follow up Nate Stanley, who I wasn't the highest on Nate Stanley. I'll keep it 100 with you. I was not the biggest Nate Stanley fan. But given to where the state of Iowa quarterback has been in the past however many years, I really much appreciate Nate Stanley, and I realize that I took him for granted. So I do apologize to Nathaniel Stanley for me taking him for granted. But Spencer Petras, when he came in with all that hype, and especially when you learn that he took Zach Wilson's scholarship, and forget what you know about Zach Wilson in the NFL. Zach Wilson at BYU was a different breed. He was very, very good at BYU, and I think anybody worth anything would take Zach Wilson in his time at BYU over Spencer Petras. Now, would Zach Wilson have been afforded the same luxuries at Iowa as he was at BYU? Probably not. But learning that Spencer Petras took his scholarship, that kind of sat weird as well with a lot of people. But the one thing Spencer Petras did that I give him a lot of credit for, because it wasn't on the field, he wasn't a very good quarterback. I mean, his feet were moving 100 miles an hour. You could, if your feet are moving 100 miles an hour, how fast is his brain moving? He never looked calm and comfortable in the pocket. He had a very strong arm. Didn't know how to layer any throws. Didn't know how to put touch on any throws. But had a really strong arm, and you saw that at at Utah State. When he ended up transferring there. But one thing Spencer Petras did, not on the football field, I give him a ton of respect for, is going to the media after every single game, knowing that he was not the most popular figure in Iowa City. And he would still answer every single question. He would still go up to the podium every single time. And I have massive respect for him for that. And then when he left, Cade McNamara came in. And Cade McNamara was a guy who had a decent reputation at Michigan. He wasn't a guy that was the guy you were pulling that was pulling the trailer. He was a trailer. He was a guy, though, on the trailer that was telling the person driving the truck where to go. And with his leadership, Michigan was able to do really good things. They made it to the College Football Playoff. They won their first Big Ten title under the new era and stuff like that. But he wasn't the reason they got there. They had a very good run offense. They had a very good offensive line. They had an elite defense with Aiden Hutchinson, David Ojabo, and Daxton Hill all on it. Like, they had a crazy defense and a really solid offense. But going throughout that season in his final year at Michigan, you could tell that they were gearing up to go towards J.J. McCarthy as the starter there. We saw him feature in a bunch of games that season, very limited roles, but he's still playing enough to where you go, there's something there. There's definitely something there. And then the next season comes, and there's an open quarterback competition. Now, I'm going to tell you this. If there's an open quarterback competition and the starting quarterback from the season before just got you to a college football playoff, he's not getting that job back. If he got you to that point, and then he's going to be the starter. But if you announce it's an open competition, he's not the starter anymore. You're just being nice to him. Like, when Jake Fromm was at Georgia, there was never an open quarterback competition between him and Justin Fields. Even though Justin Fields was 1,000 times better than Jake Fromm, there was never an open quarterback competition there because they kept it with Jake Fromm. Kirby Smart kept it with Jake Fromm because he got him to a national championship as a freshman. They announced right in the offseason, quarterback battle. Cade, we love you. We appreciate you. Appreciate what you did. But yeah, we're going to go with the guy who has a stronger arm, is way more athletic than you, and is bigger than you. We're going to go with that guy who wound up being a top 10 pick in the draft. Can't stay healthy for the life of him in the NFL, but that's a completely different story. But at Michigan, J.J. McCarthy was a guy that you could say would elevate the offense more than what McNamara did. So when he came to Iowa, it wasn't necessarily like a guy that's coming in to be that tractor that's pulling along the trailer. No. It was just a guy that you were hoping would come in and stabilize the position that had been kind of in flux since, again, Nate Stanley left. There was no consistency at the position. There was a lot of fear at the position. There was a lot of loathing at the position, not even meaning to do fear and loathing in Las Vegas, but there was some of that. There was some fear and loathing in Iowa City. And McNamara was a guy, again, that you could look at and go, hey, you're nothing special. I mean, you're as big as me, but I trust you because I saw you make good decisions at Michigan. All I need you to do, given what Iowa's defense looked like at that current stage, with likes of Cooper DeJean, Nick Jackson, Jay Higgins, all those guys, I just need you to not do anything stupid, and we will win games. And by not doing anything stupid, I also do need you to put up some, decent numbers. I'm not asking for 3,000 yards or anything like that, but a calm, cool, like 2,200 yards, I would have been cool with. But Cade McNamara, during his time at Iowa, with the hype that came along with that, because Iowa fans were so desperate for something, that period was one of the darkest of Iowa's offense during that time. Barring the Illinois State game, week 1 last season, when Kirk Ferentz got suspended because he was tampering with McNamara for in the transfer portal, barring that game, Cade McNamara was not very good at Iowa. I would go as far to say he is the worst quarterback I've ever seen at Iowa in regards to the hype that came in with it. Like, that's what I would say. Because I want to just talk about it like this. Like, do Cleveland Browns think that if you were to say who's the worst quarterback in Cleveland Browns history, like, you go through a long list. You could go like DeShone Kizer because they went 0-16 with him as a starter. You could go with somebody that barely even played there, but I'm pretty sure most Browns fans would say Deshaun Watson's the worst quarterback in franchise history. Is he actually the worst? Like, out of talent-wise? No. He's not less talented than DeShone Kizer. He's not worse than Kelly Holcomb, and I love Kelly Holcomb. He did well for the Browns as well, but he was the first quarterback that popped in my head. But he's not worse than, like, Jason Campbell or Charlie Fry or Brian Hoyer or Johnny Manziel. But given the circumstances of what brought him to Cleveland and the contract that he signed, you would go, oh yeah, that's the worst quarterback in Browns history. It's a whole list of things that encompass being the worst thing in one thing's existence. Because Deacon Hill, pound for pound, literally pound for pound, is the worst quarterback I've ever seen play for Iowa, just on a pure skill-based thing. But there was no hype with Deacon Hill coming in. There was zero hype with Deacon Hill coming in. And with McNamara, given the hype that he had, and given the fact that Kirk got suspended for quote-unquote tampering with McNamara in the portal, that's what makes it worse, given the product that we saw on the field. And then the quote-unquote concussion he got against Northwestern when he got benched, and then he was on the sideline against Wisconsin, and then didn't travel to the team out west to UCLA, didn't walk out during senior day or anything. Like, just all the other factors, and the fact that he didn't talk to the media after losses. Like, he was there front and center of the Illinois State game, but I don't remember seeing any press conferences of him talking after the Iowa State game where he threw that pick on the first play of the second half. I don't remember seeing that one, but he was there, teeth showing, smiling like crazy after Illinois State. And it just got worse and worse and worse, and he wasn't a fit as well for Tim Lester's offense. He was a guy that would have worked well with Brian Ferentz's style of caveman offense. Like, it would have been very good for that style. But he didn't come into the season healthy. He tore his knee up against Michigan State. It just never played that season healthy at all. So when he came in with Tim Lester with quick reads and stuff like that, that's not his game. And you could say that's wrong or right, but that's just not the style of game that he plays. And Brendan Sullivan was more accustomed to that. But Brendan Sullivan, if you gave him 10 chances to hit the floor with the football, he probably hit it only 5 times. Because he would make a ridiculous throw. But like the UCLA game, made a ridiculous throw in the, I think, first or second drive of the game. But then the rest of the game, you're like, has this guy ever thrown a football before? Like, but there was the athleticism in there. He wanted to be a football player, was running people over and all this stuff, but he wasn't there and he wasn't consistent enough or smart enough as a runner to go like, he's not, I don't know what's going on here. And then Jackson Stratton came in with zero expectation, but I thought he played well given the limited expectations that he had, given that he was the 5th string quarterback and scout team linebacker going into the game against UCLA and started against Maryland and Nebraska, the final 2 games of the regular season. Like, that was fun. That was fun stuff. So when Mark Gronowski came in, all of the hype came in. And I was the one conducting the train talking about how much Mark Gronowski would change Iowa's offense, how awesome Mark Gronowski would be at the University of Iowa. And right now, given what I've talked about with my friends and what I've seen on social media recently, it's a very hot button issue to have any sort of opinion about Mark Gronowski either way. I will say it like this. Is Mark Gronowski playing like the same Mark Gronowski I saw at South Dakota State? No. You could tell his shoulders bothered him. At least it did bother him the first 2 games of the year. We saw him look a little bit more like himself against UMass and Indiana and Rutgers even, to where, oh, this is the Mark Gronowski that I remember seeing. He's not playing the same style of football that he did at South Dakota State. He's just not. But has he been bad? No, he hasn't been bad at all. Has he been great? No, he hasn't been great either. He's been good. And he is by far, and this, I say that, but I'm also going to say this, by far the best quarterback they've had since Nate Stanley. Like, it's not even really close. Like with Brendan Sullivan that we talked about before, he was super inconsistent as a passer, and that's being nice. I've seen Gronowski put forth sustained drives throwing the football. We saw that against Indiana, who has a top 5 defense, who made Dante Moore look average 2 weeks ago. You know, the guy that's been one of the favorites for the Heisman Trophy, we talked about for the Penn State game, has one hand already on the Heisman Trophy. Yet that guy, Indiana went into their house and made him look average and picked him off twice on back-to-back drives to end the game. Mark Gronowski got picked off once against Indiana. It got batted and landed right in the arms of the defender. Like, Gronowski hasn't been great. No. He hasn't been amazing by any stretch of the imagination, but he hasn't been bad either. And I love when people point out the stats for Mark Gronowski. Like, he hasn't thrown a passing touchdown since the UMass game. Like, that was the last time he threw a passing touchdown, and that was all the way back. What was the date of that game? That was September 13th. That was over a month ago, the last time Mark Gronowski threw a passing touchdown. He threw one against Albany, threw 2 against UMass. And if you look at the games since then, he's thrown 3 interceptions. Out of those 3 interceptions against Indiana, Wisconsin, Penn State, I'm pretty sure all of those were tipped, minus the Wisconsin one, because that was just a bad play design from Tim Lester, trying to take advantage of the last play of the quarter and try to take a shot down the field. Just not a great play call. That's the long and short of it. It wasn't a great play call. Had a read, double coverage, threw a post corner, got picked. Unfortunate stuff there. But against Penn State, got tipped. Against Indiana, got tipped. And I don't want to sit here and go, like, looking at these numbers. You look at the game against Rutgers, 12 of 18, 186, no touchdowns, no picks. Indiana, 19-25, 144, no touchdowns, 1 pick. Wisconsin, 17-24, 107, 0 touchdowns, 1 pick. That was a game he was coming back from an injury, of the guy that had the knee injury against Indiana. And then Penn State, 10 for 16, 68 yards, no touchdowns, 1 pick. Like, Gronowski, what I give him a lot of credit for, and this is what I love about him, this is why I'm so confident in saying that he is the best quarterback since Nate Stanley by a country mile, is that he's a gamer. He's an absolute gamer. Like, he didn't start off the game well against Penn State. I think he started the game off 1 for 6, 7, or 8, something like that. And his one pass attempt was a shovel pass to Caden Weechen on a jet sweep. But he still managed to claw his way back and get to 10 of 16. Like, I think we can all agree Iowa's receivers are not great. Reese Vanderzee coming back is awesome, but overall, they're not great. Sam Phillips, I like him a decent amount. Caleb Gill's pretty solid. I'm not saying these guys are horrific or anything, but they're not guys you would look at and go, oh, this is an elite group right here. What Iowa does better than a lot of teams in the country, let alone the Big Ten, is run the football. And Gronowski is the main catalyst behind that this year. It's not Caleb Johnson. If Iowa needs a gain of any sort, they put the ball in Mark Gronowski's hands. That's what they want. They want the ball in his hands when they're doing anything big. Whether it's a run play or pass play. If it's a pass play, they give him an option to run, and he will take it. And he will eat up massive yards. He had the 60-yard-plus run in the game against Penn State. Smartly sit. He had, I believe, 2 yards rushing at halftime, ended with 130 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. He has run for a touchdown in every single game to this point in the season. He has 10 rushing touchdowns right now. That is second in the Big Ten behind Jonah Coleman of Washington, who's one of the best running backs in the country, let alone the Big Ten. One of the best running backs in the country. Like, Mark Gronowski might not be the same Mark Gronowski that he was at South Dakota State. And a lot of it is because he's playing a little bit of a different offense, and he's not playing for a team that's as dominant as South Dakota State was, because that's the hard part about scouting quarterbacks for North Dakota State and South Dakota State. Because they're so dominant, it's hard to look at that and go how they adjust to the next level, because a lot of your guys are open because you're so dominant in the run game that your guys down the field are more often than not wide-ass open. You're running a lot of seam routes because they're all open. You're not going to get that at a school like Iowa. And I would say that's the next step. It's not the NFL that I'm talking about, but taking that step from the FCS level to the the FBS level in the Big Ten at a school like Iowa, where you're not going to be the most dominant team every single Saturday. You're just not. That's not going to happen. But you're going to be physical. You're going to run the ball. You need a guy that's going to galvanize the team and get them going. Iowa offenses in previous years would not have won this game. They wouldn't have. Like, that's where another thing that comes into play here. Like, Iowa down 14-10 at halftime, blocked kick, returned for a touchdown after a 66-yard attempt. Like, Iowa's not coming back from that. They find themselves down 21-10 prior to their first drive in the third quarter. And every single drive after that, he had 3 drives after that pretty much. Touchdown, field goal, touchdown. Win the game. Like, that's what this Iowa offense is different than previous year's offenses. Mark Gronowski, again, an amazing guy right now. No. Is he the best quarterback in the Big Ten? No, but I would say he's somewhere in the middle. He's definitely not the worst. We're not looking at, like, the Big Ten in general and, like, oh, Iowa might have the 16th best quarterback in the Big Ten. Like, that's what we had every single year since Nate Stanley, was Iowa might have, at best, the 15th best quarterback in the Big Ten. Like, out of the past however many years, who out of McNamara, Deacon Jones, or Deacon Hill, sorry, not Deacon Jones. No, Deacon Jones, yeah. Not Deacon Hill was the defensive end from the Rams back in the day. Deacon Jones, Alex Padilla, Deuce Hogan, Spencer Petras, Jackson Stratton. Out of all of those guys, who would you look at and go, that's a guy that's above a top 15 quarterback in the Big Ten? They're just not. That's not there. None of those guys are even scraping 16th, let alone 15th in the Big Ten. That's how bad the position was. And Gronowski, again, might not be the greatest passer of all time. But if you need him to make a play, he's going to make the play. And Iowa's going to put the ball in his hands, and he's going to do something with it more often than not. And I'm getting sick and tired of people posting like the passing numbers. Like, oh my God, he has 3 passing touchdowns and 4 picks. He also has 10 rushing touchdowns. So on the season, Mark Gronowski has 13 touchdowns and 4 picks. I don't believe he has a fumble up to this point in the season. I'm going to knock on wood for that. So if you were going to sit here and go, okay, my quarterback has 13 total touchdowns and 4 turnovers. If I didn't tell you what the touchdowns were, I think you'd be pretty fine with that. I think you'd be really fine with that if you would take 13 touchdowns and 4 turnovers. Like, it's not pretty, but you take it. And given the spot where Iowa has been at, we can't be in a situation where we're getting to picky and choosy on who it is. Like, talking about benching Gronowski, it's like, who the hell have we got that's any better than him? And it's a trick question. Hecklinski and Brown are nowhere near Mark Gronowski at this point in time. They could be better than him next year when they're the starters. One of them's the starter, or if they bring in someone else. Maybe that's the case. But right here and now, there's nobody on Iowa's roster that's better than Mark Gronowski. And I don't think we need to sit here at all and even entertain the idea that Iowa should go in a different direction at quarterback. I think that's crazy talk. Because after everything I've seen from Mark Gronowski, and given the quarterbacks that Iowa's had in the past however many years, he is by far the best one they've had. It's not close. This offense isn't built for long, sustained passing offensive drives. Big, deep passing plays down the middle of the field. This is an offense that wants to eat up yards with the ground, and they want to take the intermediate throws and the shorter throws. And barring the first 2 games of the season against Albany and Iowa State, I think Mark Gronowski's done a pretty damn good job at hitting those short to intermediate throws. Like 10 of 16, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. Like, since the UMass game, since he hasn't thrown a touchdown in any of those games, I'm not sitting here going like, oh, this is the showcase of accuracy and all that. But he's completed over 62% of his passes every single game since the UMass game. Like, we're getting a little too picky and choosy for my liking here. Like, you have a quarterback that has 13 total touchdowns this year. I'll take that in a heartbeat. And I want the ball in his hands when the game's on the line. We saw it against Indiana. He can throw the ball when they need him to. He was great against Indiana. It's a shame he had the interception. It's a shame that he went down hurt, because if he doesn't get hurt, there's a really good chance Iowa goes on to win that game. And looking at how Indiana's looking right now, there is 0 chance they're losing games the rest of the regular season. And I know they play Penn State in there, but right now it looks very unlikely they're going to lose a game in the regular season. And that game against Iowa was really a 3-point game, barring the safety at the end of the thing. This is the closest game Indiana's played by far, and Iowa hit them in the mouth every single chance they could. And that's what Iowa football is. And that's why Mark Gronowski is perfect for what this Iowa Hawkeye team does on offense. So no, I'm not going to sit here and pine for Hank Brown or Jeremy Hecklinski or anything like that. I'm riding with Mark Gronowski. And I just think it's really funny about the narratives, or I guess the conversation pieces around it, because, again, we can't afford to be picky and choosy on who the quarterback is at the University of Iowa. Again, I will read off the names. I got to read them out. I remember they've been scarily scarred into my brain. Cade McNamara, Deacon Jones, or Deacon Hill, Deacon Jones was the Rams guy. I'm getting my guys all confused. Deacon Jones, Deacon Hill, Jackson Stratton, Spencer Petras, Deuce Hogan, Alex Padilla. That was Iowa's quarterbacks. And what could any of those guys not do? Anything. They could do anything. Like, you can say Brendan Sullivan's a good athlete. Yeah, Brendan Sullivan also had a 90% chance of getting hurt every time he ran the ball. Gronowski doesn't. If you could do one great thing for me, I can live with it, especially if this was the history of quarterbacks Iowa's had in recent years. He's a dog, and I love that. CJ Beathard was a dog. Loved it. Like, I'm not sitting here comparing Mark Gronowski to CJ Beathard. Don't get that twisted. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. But it is a nice feeling going like the team wants the ball in his hands. And that is good enough for me because I can't look at any other Iowa quarterback since Nate Stanley where Iowa's gone, I want the ball in his hands at the end of the game. Or any point. Key point in the game, I want the ball in his hands. First half had, I believe, again, 2 rushing yards in the game, had 130 at the end of it. That's great stuff. That's great stuff. I will take that. We're not Wisconsin fans. We're not spoiled. We're not spoiled at the quarterback position here. So we got to settle down a little bit. But this Penn State game, it was fun. I was at the game. My dad and I went up to the game for the weekend. It was really fun. Loud crowd. Thought I was going to lose my voice. Did for a little bit. But the following, like the Monday, it was weird. Like the Monday was the day I kind of like, I woke up and felt a little more hoarse than I did on Sunday, which you would think would be the day after. But yeah, fun game. Great game. And Penn State, like I did hear, I know it was Chris Hassel said that this is Iowa's biggest win in 4 years. And if you take that quote at face value, you look at it and go like, so Iowa's biggest win in the last 4 years is against a 3-win Penn State team who has lost 3 straight games in a row going in, and it just fired their head coach and lost their quarterback for the rest of the season due to a broken ankle. Like, that's the stand. Like, everybody's like, oh, the standard of Iowa football has fallen so far. If that's the biggest win in Iowa's season in the last 4 years or something. But if you look at it from a fact of, like I brought up earlier, Iowa offenses in previous years don't come back in this game. I don't care who's at quarterback. I don't care who's the head coach. Iowa offenses, since Stanley again, that's the barometer. So it's like AN, like after Nate. Like that's what it kind of the thing is there. Like BB before Brad, and then AN after Nate. Like that's what we got to figure out here. That's the timeline here. But yeah, the offenses that we had with Petras, with Padilla, and I know Padilla was mostly the backup, but still he played. McNamara. Then you got Deacon Hill, Stratton. Like that, those offenses weren't coming back from it. And if they did, it wasn't because of anything the quarterbacks did. It was because of something Cooper DeJean did or Caleb Johnson did. And those are the types of things that I think I would take away more from that than just the direct quote of this is Iowa's biggest win in the last 4 years. Because it is depressing if you think about it. But the more you dig into it, you go like, Iowa hasn't had a ranked win since, 2021? Like, that's bad. I think it was Penn State was actually Iowa's last ranked win, which is pretty funny and sad at the same time because I can't remember the exact record. I try not to look at it because it's just depressing. Like looking at Iowa's record against ranked teams the past however many games, or how many seasons or whatever. Like the Missouri game was like the stamp on top of it. Because Iowa should have won that game in the bowl game. But they didn't, because they stink. But there is a shot. Like, it's obviously not a perfect recipe or anything. It's not a perfect chance that this happens. But there is a non-zero chance that Iowa makes the college football playoff this year. I'm not saying it's going to happen. Don't get it. I'm not that deluded. But there is a chance. There is a small, minuscule chance they could do that. Like, you run the table. Let's say, hypothetically, Iowa finished season 10-2. You get wins over Minnesota, get a win at home against Oregon, which would be massive. You travel out west to USC, beat them, which I think would be a miracle if Iowa beat USC at this point, just because of how great Jade Mayava has been playing at USC and Mekhi Lemon at wide receiver and how great that passing offense is looking. That kind of scares me a little bit. But in the same breath, I have been very impressed with TJ Hall, Deshaun Lee, Zach Lutmer. Xavier Nwankpa had his best game at Iowa this past weekend against Penn State. Like, I do trust the secondary a lot more than I did going in. And Montgomery, he took the starting job for Jaden Harrell after he got hurt against Indiana. Now he's the starter at middle linebacker. So I have faith in that, but I am a little nervy going into that. But Michigan State, that should beat them. That I don't even really need to talk about that one. They lost to them last year. Shouldn't have. If we're just talking about team for team, they shouldn't have. But Iowa did not deserve to win that specific game, if that makes sense. And then at Nebraska. So you got 2 road games the rest of the season. 2, USC, Nebraska. Granted, tough places to go. I'm not sitting here going like USC's home crowd's elite or anything, but traveling from Iowa to Los Angeles is not easy. I mean, we saw that last year when Iowa played UCLA. It's not easy, and USC is better than that UCLA team. Now, you can also make the same argument that this Iowa team is better than last year's Iowa team, which I think is true. But it's still a tough game to go to, especially when you follow that up with Oregon. I can't remember, is there a bye week in there? No, there's no bye week. So you go straight from playing Oregon to traveling out west to play USC. That's not easy. So I'm not sitting here going like, oh my God, it's a foregone conclusion that Iowa's making the college football playoff this year. I'm not saying that. But if they win those games, it's not completely out of the question here. Now they got to get through Minnesota first, and Minnesota's a good football team. I hate Minnesota with a passion. I've been to a couple Iowa versus Minnesota games. They're really fun. I was at the one where Minnesota came in undefeated and Iowa beat them at Kinnick. It was awesome. Storming the field, I understood it. Here's the thing with storming the field. I have no issue with anybody storming the field. If you want to do it, do it. I've never personally done it, but if you want to do it, do it. But do it in the right game. I don't care if Minnesota's undefeated. You're not storming the field against Minnesota. Come on. We're better than that. You can't storm the field against Minnesota. I know I'm like old man yelling at clouds thing, but don't storm the field against Minnesota. I don't care if they're undefeated. You're Iowa. You're better than that. Why are you storming the field against Minnesota? And of all the teams you can storm the field against, Minnesota is not one of them. They could be number 1 ranked team in the nation. I wouldn't storm the field against Minnesota because it's Minnesota. That's my logic behind it. And saying that Minnesota's coming to town. They are coming off a win against Nebraska this past weekend. They got 2 wins in a row. Lost to Ohio State, lost to Cal, but Cal's a solid team. And again, we talk about going out west. They went out west. It's a hard game to go to. I'm not saying Cal's like a world-beating team or anything like that, or a national championship contender, but going out west is hard. It is not easy. And then Ohio State, the other loss. So Minnesota right now is undefeated at home and has 2 losses on the road. They have won 0 games on the road. They have lost 0 games at home. This game's at Iowa, so that's a bump. That's a nice little bump right there. And they looked good against Nebraska. They got to Dylan Raiola a lot in this game, whether they actually brought him down or just gave him a little extra shot at the end, but they sacked him 9 times in this game. 9 times. I did think it was funny. Mark Gronowski came out with a little quote that said he thought the Nebraska quarterback was holding on the ball a little too long. And Dylan Raiola I almost said Patrick Mahomes, and Mark Gronowski are not the same style of quarterback, but in this style of game, I trust Mark Gronowski more than I trust Dylan Raiola. And I'm not saying you're going like, Mark Gronowski's better than Dylan Raiola. I'm not saying that. But in this style of game, I would take Mark Gronowski because Minnesota's going to bring the house. And Iowa's offensive line is better than Nebraska's. And I would take Gronowski in a game like this against Minnesota versus Dylan Raiola. And that might be controversial. But that's just the way I'd be looking at it right now. And I hope that Iowa's offensive line is able to withhold them. In Minnesota, they run the ball really well. That's what they're going to want to do. Darius Taylor ran for 148 yards in this game. Had a kind of a slow start to the year. Got hurt early on in the year. Came back and kind of has been slowly building back up to that. But 24 carries, 148 yards, 1 touchdown in the game against Nebraska. He did have 67 yards receiving against Purdue the previous week. But PJ Fleck wants them to run the football. That's his identity. He wants Minnesota to run the damn ball. That's what he wants to do. And Drake Lindsey, which is really hilarious that Drake Lindsey's named, there's a guy named Drake Lindsey playing quarterback for Minnesota, 10 touchdowns, 3 picks to his name on the season. And yeah, it's going to be a tough one. I'm not sitting here going like Iowa's going to wipe the floor with Minnesota, but I do expect Iowa to always beat Minnesota. That's my expectation. Is that arrogant of me? Probably. but that's just my expectation going into a game like this. And I think Iowa's playing really well. So I would take the Hawks going into this game against the Gophers. And I'm not going to be sorry for it because I hate Minnesota. So I will never be sorry. I will never be sorry for that. And while we're on the topic of the state of Iowa, Iowa State, they were coming off a bye, back-to-back losses to Cincinnati and Colorado, both on the road. Hey, at this point in the year, for for Iowa and Iowa State's record I have exactly right. I had them 5-2 up to this point in the year. Iowa, I had 4-3, but when I was doing the preview, I did say they would beat one of Oregon or Penn State. So I'll give myself that. Penn State or Oregon looks a little tough at this point in time. They look a little tough and scary. But hey, crazier things have happened. I've seen worse Iowa teams beat higher ranked teams. It can happen. It can happen. But Iowa State, going into this game against BYU is playing really, really well. Chase Roberts, one of the better receivers in the Big 12. Bear Bachmeier is playing really, really good right now. 7-0 as a true freshman starter for BYU. 9 touchdowns, 3 picks on the season. Brother Hank Bachmeier, remember him from Boise State and Wake Forest, and he is a mobile quarterback. 359 yards rushing this point, 8 touchdowns to his name at 64 yards rushing against Utah. Also at 89 yards on the ground against Arizona the previous week, and 98 against Colorado. And Iowa State, as we've talked about numerous times before, and it's not just limited to this season, Iowa State sometimes struggles against mobile quarterbacks. That's just how it works. And you know what? You're going to get that. I say this all the time. There's positive and negatives to a 3-3-5 defense. Positives, you're really good against the pass. Even though Iowa State's got a bunch of injuries in the secondary, you're very good against the pass because you got so many people back. Problem is, you got less people in the box, which makes it easier for teams to run on you. So that's the kind of life that you got to lead here. You got to just go, we're selling out for the pass every single time, but against teams like BYU, against teams like Cincinnati, like they're going to want to run the football. I'm not saying they put up like astronomical number of yards against them, but if you look at the game against Arizona State in the Big 12 championship game, they've sold out to the run so much that it opened up so many holes in the passing game for Sam Levitt to work with because they're so open against the run. And against mobile quarterbacks, they struggle against that because they have less people naturally getting after them. And with all the injuries they have in the secondary, I'm sure John Heacock's wanting to deploy more people back there to kind of provide coverage for the players they've lost because the players they lost are very, very good players. Very, very good players. So you want to make extra coverage for that. So it's just going to be an interesting game. BYU, I believe, is the favorite going in. Oh, no, Iowa State is the favorite. 2.5-point favorite. I couldn't remember if BYU came in as a favorite. They're projected to win on ESPN's Match Predictor. 54.2% chance to win for the Cougs in this game. 7-0. 4-0 in Big 12 play. I didn't think they'd be as good. I'm not going to lie. I did not think they'd be as good this year. Like, they came into the year with the whole Jake Retzlaff thing, with the premarital sex stuff. They came in with that, and he came with the true freshman quarterback, and Bear Bachmeier wears number 47. I had a hard time allowing that. Like, how do you have a quarterback wear number 47? That shouldn't be allowed. As a true freshman, nonetheless. Now, I've never heard the reason why he wears number 47, but it's still weird to look at. Now, that being said, it's not like BYU has played a murderer's row schedule up to this point in the year. I mean, we're looking at Portland State, Stanford, East Carolina, Colorado, West Virginia, Arizona, and then Utah. Utah's a good team, even though they got pantsed by Texas Tech a couple weeks ago. They're a good football team, and it's a rivalry game, so that game is always going to be close. But they've played one ranked team up to this point in the year, and only one of those teams, like out of the teams that you're looking at for the teams they have played that aren't ranked, only one of those teams is even scaring getting ranked, and I would say that's Arizona. Like Colorado, They got their first win in conference play against Iowa State 2 weeks ago. And that's another thing. I didn't want to say this because I think it's kind of funny. Iowa State fans have been on social media talking about how Iowa has not beaten a team with a conference win all season, which I think that's really hilarious. But in the same breath, I would rather beat teams with 0 conference wins than give a team their first conference win of the season, which is what Iowa State did to Colorado. I would rather beat the team that has 0 wins than lose the team with 0 wins, if that makes any sense. Like, it kind of opens you up there. You can't really make fun of that when you just lost to that team. So we can't really make fun of Iowa for doing that if you're doing it. So it's if you're not doing it. So easier said than done, I guess you could say. A lot easier said than done, but this will be a really fun one. And BYU, they've got some tough games coming up. Iowa State's obviously a tough game, especially on the road. Texas Tech, I know they're coming off a loss to Arizona State, but that's a really tough game, especially on the road. TCU's a very good football team. I know they're unranked. Josh Hoover's playing really, really well right now. Cincinnati, that's another ranked team. Brendan Sorsby playing really, really well right now. And then UCF, they'll wipe the floor with UCF. But Iowa State, Texas Tech, and Cincinnati all on the road, and then TCU. That's 4 really, really tough games. So we'll see how real BYU is through this next stretch of games. But this one against Iowa State is going to be fun. I'm intrigued to see how Rocco Becht looks in this game while we're on the topic of quarterbacks in Iowa State and Iowa and all that stuff. I want to see how Rocco Becht does. He did not have his greatest game against Colorado. You would say it's probably one of his worst games we've seen from him at Iowa State. 205 yards, no touchdowns, 1 pick. Like the week before, or 2 weeks before, he had 5 rushing touchdowns. He had 0 in this game against Colorado. And then against Cincinnati, he did have 2 passing touchdowns, even though he got his head taken off on one of the plays he tried to run the ball. Rocco is not playing at a very high level at this point in time. He can still make some ridiculous throws throughout the course of the game, but this is exactly what I talked about going into the year. I want to see Rocco Becht play with some sort of consistency, and we just haven't seen it. And before you say, well, Mark Gronowski hasn't been playing with that much consistency, I would expect Rocco Becht, who's been in the same team for 3 years with the same offensive coordinator the past 2. I know he lost some receivers and stuff like that, but it's not like they're rewriting, what's the saying here? It's not like they're remaking the wheel or anything here. Like there's everything's still the same. You just got some new pieces around you. And if you're in a third year as a starter, I would expect you to work around that, I guess you could say. And I just haven't seen that. I'm not sitting here going like, oh my God, he's been bad or anything. They need to bench him. I'm not doing that. But he hasn't been, for his standard, he hasn't been very good. And that's just the low and short of it. Like the high and low of it. What's the other phrase? I'm getting all confused with my phrases right now. But yeah, BYU versus Colorado, or BYU versus Iowa State this weekend, 2:30. Iowa and Minnesota's at 2:30. Iowa State versus BYU, again, 2:30 kickoff. Fun stuff. Fun stuff. And I'm not going to go over my full quarterback rankings for this week, but I do want to talk about them a little bit. You'll have the video out for you when this podcast comes out. It's going to be a little bit later in the day, but just make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel for that. Also, thank you to everybody that watched the last one. Got over 1,000 views on the last quarterback prospect rankings video, so I appreciate that. Make sure, again, to check out the blog post on the LoganBlackmanShow.com. There will be videos and descriptions for every single quarterback that's in the top 10. And this is, we kind of talked about this a couple weeks ago, or probably a month ago. And it was about how, quote-unquote, disappointing this quarterback class had been going in. Because if you looked at all the preseason guys, all the guys that were receiving the most hype, very few of those guys are still in and around that top category of quarterbacks. And those guys were Drew Aller, Cade Klubnik, Sam Leavitt. You're looking at Arch Manning as being another one. We're talking about, who are some other guys? I'm completely blanking on some of them probably. But regardless, some of the guys that people were expecting to be the upper echelon guys, they're nowhere to be found. Like Klubnik, I haven't had in the top 10 forever. Aller, I dropped out of the top 10 completely last week, and that was even before he had the injury. And then Sam Leavitt hasn't been in the top 10 for a while. It's just been, Arch Manning has been out of the top 10 since the San Jose State game, I think it was. Or, no, not San Jose State. I think UTSA? I think it was that game. One of the games he struggled, and I didn't even bother putting him back in there. Which I figured I was going to do anyways, taking him out, because I didn't think he was going to come out regardless of how good he played this year. But there's always that chance. And I wanted to keep an eye on him while the season goes on. But it's just, there's no way. There's absolutely no way he's coming out this year. But we talked about it being disappointing. And from that aspect, you could say, yes, it had been disappointing. Because the top guys that we were all expecting to be the top guys weren't the top guys anymore. Like, I had bought a lot of stock in Drew Aller, and he failed that ridiculously. And even before the injury, he had failed that ridiculously. Like I talked about before. Like with Penn State firing James Franklin and all that stuff, and him going down with the broken ankle. And like, where are the problems with Penn State? Like, oh my God, they're wiping the floor with these teams early. They didn't wipe the floor with anybody. If you look at those first 3 games and see the scores, score-wise, yeah, they're not close games. They're very blowout-worthy games. But if you actually watch the games, Penn State was not good in any of those first 3 games against Nevada, FIU, and Villanova. They were not good in any of those games. And Drew Aller was bad against FIU and Villanova. He played well against Nevada week 1, but against FIU and Villanova, barring the one touchdown he had to Trevor Pena against Villanova, he was really bad in those games. And then it just kept getting more negative. And in third year as a starter, I brought this up, I think, a couple weeks ago, where people are on Arch Manning's throat. Like, oh my God, he's ass. Oh, yeah. Why was nobody really on Drew Aller? Unless I've just not seen it. Maybe they have been. I just haven't seen it. Why was nobody really on Drew Aller for being in his third year as a starter and looking worse than he ever has at Penn State prior to getting hurt? Physical tools-wise, he had the most physical tools out of everybody in this class. He was 6'5", 240 pounds, rocket arm, not the greatest athlete, but can pick up gains with on the ground if he needs to because he's so damn big and hard to bring down. He's not an elite athlete or anything. He's not like Josh Allen in that aspect because I know everybody's going to start comparing him. And when you're talking about like arm strength and size, yeah, he's very comparable to Josh Allen in that aspect from a rawness standpoint. But why was nobody really talking about that? We're only talking about Arch. Drew Aller's been way more disappointing in my mind than Arch Manning was because I had stock in Drew Aller being the top quarterback in this draft class. We just didn't see that development. Maybe that's a coaching thing. Maybe the coaches were holding him back. Maybe he needs to be freed from Penn State, and then we'll see a really good quarterback, the Drew Aller that I've been expecting up to this point in the year. And obviously we're not going to see any more of that because he broke his ankle again, but it just sucked seeing what I was seeing through those first three games in games where I'm not like sitting here going like he needs to throw for 500 yards in every one of those games, but I need you to look competent. I need you to make some easy throws. Like, I don't need just the home run throws and the tight window throws every single time. I want to see you make the underneath throws. I want to see you make the check downs. Like, I want to see those throws be made, and they weren't. And you look at Klubnik. Like, the game against LSU, had the interception in that game, didn't play his best game, but LSU, going into that game, we all knew LSU is a very good defense. They have one of the top corners in the country. Harold Perkins, one of the best linebackers in the country. They have a very good defense. But then the games after that against Troy. Then you look at the game against Georgia Tech. Then you look at the game against Syracuse, and it just kept getting worse. And he's getting better now, but I'm not going to sit here and hold a lot of stock in that because they're not beating anybody. Like, cool, you beat the crap out of Notre Dame, you beat the crap out of North Carolina, and you beat the crap out of Boston College. Cool. That was awesome. And he didn't play last week against SMU. He's hurt, but like he hasn't played good. And again, he was the one out of the hyped guys that I never really bought fully into. I was kind of like, I feel like his ceiling's there. I thought he was good enough to warrant a first-round draft pick, but when people kept talking about him being a first overall pick, that's where I kind of drew the line in the sand. I was like, you know what? We're going a little bit too crazy here. He's good. He's got a good arm. He's a good athlete. But I think this is about where he's going to be for the foreseeable future. I don't think he does anything particularly special, but he's going to put up numbers, and he's going to look really good while he does it. It's just not going to be like anything that's absolutely draw-dropping or anything like that. And that's been up to this point in the season. Again, cool. You beat the crap out of North Carolina and Boston College. Anybody with a brainstem would beat the crap out of North Carolina and Boston College. You didn't beat the crap out of Syracuse. You actually got the crap beaten out of you against Syracuse, and you tried to make some sort of excuse after the game. You got beat by Georgia Tech on the road. You were down 16-3 against Troy. Like that's where we're kind of talking about the disappointment factor of it. And Sam Leavitt, there was always a chance he was going to go back. I mean, you kind of caught lightning in a bottle last year at Arizona State. Cam Scadaboo was awesome. And they made it to the second round of the college football playoff. Now, that's the only game they played in the college football playoff, but they're still there. No one expected them to win the Big 12 championship. At this point last season, they were unranked. So, anything's possible. Anything's possible. That's why I'm talking about Iowa. Anything's possible. Quote Kevin Garnett. But Sam Leavitt, I've talked about this before. He's just all over the place. He's getting calmed down now, but he's just really all over the place. And sometimes I feel like, this is so mean to say because you'd have to take advantage of it if you have it, gets bailed out by Jordan Tyson and kind of just throws it towards Jordan Tyson. Jordan Tyson makes some ridiculous catch and he comes down with it. I think Sam Leavitt's very talented. I think he's a good quarterback. But right now, I just think, hey, just go to next year. Right now, just go to next year. I did almost put him back in the top 10 this week because he had a good game against Texas Tech, and that was a 7th-ranked Texas Tech team. And he threw for 300 yards for the first time this season. I was like, okay, that's cool. That's cool stuff. But then I looked around the back half of the top 10 and who I was dropping out and who was moving in, and I took him out in the end. I did have him at number 10 for a brief second, but I took him out. But the guy that I really wanted to talk about in this whole segment, and this is why I'm doing it like this, is Carson Beck, because I didn't have him in the top 10 this week. So he's been hovering around like 7, 8, 9 all year. I've never had him much higher than that, if at all. I don't think I've ever had him higher than that. I've seen some people have him as like a top 5 guy. I've seen people talk about him as potentially being a top 3 guy on Fox Sports. I just never saw it. I thought he was good. I thought he was playing well, but I was kind of waiting. I don't want to say that like I knew something bad was going to happen, but with Miami and Mario Cristobal, it feels kind of inevitable that they're going to lose a game they probably shouldn't, and it's going to look the most disgusting. It's going to be the most disgusting thing possible, and that was this game against Louisville this past weekend. In the game, Carson Beck, 0 touchdowns, 4 picks. And what did we say last week? If you watched the video, if you watched the quarterback prospect videos, I can't remember if I said this on the podcast or not, but I can stomach interceptions if you've got a good touchdown interception ratio. And going into that game, 11 touchdowns, 3 picks, very good. I will take that in a heartbeat. 11 touchdowns, 7 picks, that kind of hurts a little bit. And the 4 picks that he threw, they weren't like, you wouldn't look at it and go like, oh my God, what the hell was that? But they weren't good throws either. Like the first one came, he tried to hit Malachi Toney down the middle of the field, triple coverage. He just doesn't have the arm to make the throw. That's simple as that. He just doesn't have the arm to make the throw. And it sucks, but that's sometimes just the facts, is that he just doesn't have the arm. And you want him to have the arm because like you see like the tools, like he's got this build and everything. Doesn't have the arm. Got picked off. Unfortunate. Then you look at the second one. Tries to make an adjustment at the line of scrimmage, trips left, got a running back next to him, steps up in the pocket, pump fakes it, and again, just not the arm strength. Underthrows it. The pump fake, he's got these really long pump fakes. You saw it earlier in the year, but he's got these like really exaggerated pump fakes. It doesn't need to be that much to get a defender to bite on it. It doesn't take a lot. Like, have you ever seen Josh Allen play? Like, Josh Allen will be 15 yards down the field and hold the ball in the air and pump fake it. A defender will jump in the air. Like, it doesn't take a whole lot for a defender to think you're going to throw the football that direction. You don't need the whole drawn-out thing. And when you already don't have that strong of an arm, you're just creating more time for the defense to adjust to it, and it's going to be underthrown. We talked about the Gronowski pump, but patting the ball against Iowa State, where he's patting it every single time. It doesn't need to be a big drawn-out pat, but if you're doing access movements that don't need to be really done, that's going to throw off the timing. The ball's a game of inches, but it's also a game of seconds, and if you're off by even a half a second, that could be the difference between a touchdown and an interception. And if you pump fake it or tap the ball when you don't need to, that's throwing off the timing of everything. And in this case, when you don't have the arm to make up for the giant pump fake, the exaggerated pump fake, then you're going to get picked off more often than not. And that's exactly what happened on the second one. Third one, tight end comes in motion, drops back to pass, looks to his left, pump fakes it again, not as exaggerated of a pump fake, tries to step up in the pocket. I think that was actually like, he thought about throwing it, caught it back. It wasn't actual like, I'm trying to get the defender to bite on it. I think he just saw something, took it back, tried to throw it back in the middle of the field, got hit while he threw it, ball sailed. Like, the ball just sailed on him and wound up going right in the arms of the grateful Louisville defender. And could have been caught. I know there's going to be some people out there that go like, oh, well, it hit the receiver in the hands. He should have caught the ball. It's like, well, the receiver's momentum is carrying him one way. He's trying to reach completely behind himself to catch the ball. And it's a ridiculously hard catch. And the last one got picked off, got hit as he threw the ball late in the game. And, yeah, just right in the arms of the defender. And then after the game, talking about, miscommunications and stuff like that. That's fine, okay? I've seen a lot of videos talking about Carson Beck with that video in mind, where he's at the press conference talking about the miscommunication. That's fine. The problem starts coming out when you say the receiver ran the wrong route. That's where the problem lies. And the thing is, and I've brought this up 1,000 times before. I brought it up with Justin Fields. I brought it up with Zach Wilson. It doesn't matter if it's fact. If it's a loss, it's I. If it's we win. It doesn't matter if the receiver ran the wrong route. If you threw the pick and you lost, it's on you. It doesn't matter if it is or not. In reality, it doesn't matter if it is or not. Like, I remember Justin Fields, he came out when he was with the Bears, and he said, Bears fan, we care more about wins and losses than the Bears fans do. Cool. I would actually expect that to be the case. But guess what? It doesn't need to be said because now you're just alienating your fans. Now you're telling your fans, well, we care about this more than you, so why are you so upset? Like, why are you alienating your fans? Tyler Van Dyke did that when he was at Miami a couple years ago, talking about, we don't have a home crowd. Why are you alienating your fans? That's so stupid. As a quarterback, why are you doing that? Or Zach Wilson, when the Jets were struggling to move the ball in offense, and the reporter point blank asked him, do you feel responsible for the offensive struggles? He just said no. It doesn't matter if you feel like that. You have to say, yes, you are the quarterback. It is your responsibility for the offense being good or bad. It doesn't matter if that's actually the case. That's your job to say it is. So if there's a miscommunication, leave it at that. Don't touch it again. That's a miscommunication. Quarterback, wide receiver, play was off, threw a pick. Leave it. You adding on other things to it makes it 1,000 times worse. So now you're alienating your wide receiver because it's not your fault. It's the receiver's fault. It does not matter if that's true. We don't need to know that. Miscommunication, done. Now you just blamed your receiver. Sick. That's what we need in the locker room. We just lost our first game of the season, and now you're alienating your receiver. You threw 4 picks. I don't think we're in the realm of talking about it's someone else's fault. You underthrew 2 passes. You got hit on the second 2. And the ball sailed on you the first time. Receiver was past the ball when you threw it to him. I don't care if it was the receiver's fault in actuality. You don't say it. You don't say it was. And that's where, that was kind of what pissed me off the most about it. It was like, I saw the clip. It was everywhere. It was everywhere about Carson Beck talking about it. Talking about the receiver on the wrong route. That's what it was everywhere. That's the kind of a thing that you look at and go, oh, shit. Maybe I don't like him as much as I did. Threw 4 picks, blame the receiver. Don't think we're at any liberty to be doing that. And this loss was predictable. I didn't think this would be the loss per se, but a game like this, Miami losing, was very predictable because, again, it happens every year. I said that last week or 2 weeks, however many weeks ago we talked about it. It was like Miami's going to lose a game. I don't know where it is. I think we looked at the schedule. Hold on, got to try and get Miami's schedule loaded up. Yeah, I said it was probably going to be Virginia Tech. If I had to pick a game, it was going to be Virginia Tech. And now I still think that game's going to be Virginia Tech. And it's not because Virginia Tech's very good. I'm not sitting here going like Virginia Tech's good. Virginia Tech's 2-5. Like they're not good. But they're also not like horrific either. Some of their losses, ultimately, they got blown out in that game. Lost by 15 to Georgia Tech, at Georgia Tech. You lost by 7 against Wake Forest. You beat NC State, so that's cool. But they're not a good football team. But I don't think Mario Cristobal really cares about if you have a good football team. There is numerous games that Miami can lose with Mario Cristobal as head coach. Lost to Georgia Tech when they should have just knelt it out, and they fumbled the ball away. And then Georgia Tech went down the field and scored a touchdown. Haynes King touchdown pass. And they lost to them last year. And they lost to Syracuse right after that. So Miami could realistically stack losses here. They play Stanford. I highly doubt that they'll lose to Stanford. But, hey, I didn't really think Florida State would lose to Stanford either, and that happened. So crazy things happen. And it's at home, but the Louisville game was at home. And across the country, not easy, but, hey, anything's possible. So 4 picks, no touchdowns, alienating wide receiver, that I took him out. There's just a lot of it was like 3 strikes, you're out type thing. You had 3 strikes. Touchdown interception ratio's off. You lost to Louisville at home. And guess what? To make it worse, you lost by 3 points. You had more interceptions thrown than points you lost by. That's the crazy part about it. It's not like you got beat by 30 points or something. You're like, oh, I threw 4 picks. Oh, whatever. No, you threw 4 picks. You lost by 3. In any of those drives, do you not think that you could have come away with some sort of points there? That's just, hey, that's what we're saying here. But yeah, I never really got the idea that he was top 5 worthy. I did talk about he could win a Heisman Trophy, but that's different than him being a top draft pick. Like him winning the Heisman Trophy, there's a lot of quarterbacks that have won Heisman Trophies and have been drafted very high. Like that has no implication on what he is as a quarterback in the NFL draft process. It's just a cool little thing. And the way Miami was playing, with how it looked like on paper, you go like, oh, they're going to win every single game the rest of the season. Like all of that stuff was lining up to a point like they beat Notre Dame, they beat South Florida, they beat Florida State on the road, they beat Florida by 20 points, 19, but still. Like it was all lining up for a potential Heisman Trophy campaign for Carson Beck. But again, that's different than just overall draft stock, because draft stock also includes traits. Heisman Trophy doesn't include, you don't really care about a player's traits in the Heisman Trophy. It's just who's been playing the best on the best team for the most part at this point in time. And right now, Heisman's done. I always believe in that you can bounce back from things, but a 4-interception game against an unranked opponent at home and a loss, you're not going to bounce back from that. That's impossible to bounce back from. Unless he goes on an insane stretch. We got 6 games left. There's 5 touchdown passes in every single game. You get 30 touchdowns throw games, end the season with 41 touchdowns and 7 picks. Then guess what? You probably won the Heisman Trophy at that point. But unless that happens, probably not winning the Heisman Trophy. I'm sorry to tell you. I'm really sorry to tell you. But there was a point in time where I never said he was my Heisman Trophy, but there was I did have him in top 5s. I definitely did that. So that part's kind of annoying in there. But yeah, top 10 for draft, no. I mean, I was saying that, and he was still 7th in my quarterback rankings. Like, there's different things that you have to look at for Heisman versus NFL draft prospect. Yeah. Like, I don't think the Heisman cares that he has a limited arm, but the NFL kind of does. That kind of does. But, yeah, disappointing. I think it's the best way I could describe that. Disappointing was the best way. And the other one that I kind of toyed with dropping out is Jade Mayava from USC. 22 of 42, 328, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. He came in at number 8 last week. And a loss to Notre Dame with 2 interceptions is a little bit different than a loss to Louisville at home with 4 picks. Like, they were right next to each other in rankings. Carson Beck was 7, Jade Mayava was 8. So he dropped him down a couple spots. And he was the guy I rotate with Sam Levitt with. But I ultimately kept him in. I haven't decided if he's at 10 or 9 yet. He was going to drop down, but 10 or 9 was somewhere around there. I like Jade Mayava. I don't know if he's going to come out this year. Because if the thing is that's kind of crazy right now is that this draft class, you could realistically look at like half the guys in the top 10 could come back. I mean, half the guys in the top 5 could come back. So what happens then? Then we're looking at the likes of Klubnik being a first-round draft pick again. That's the only way it happens. That's the only way that happens, is if everybody goes back to college. And the next year's class is loaded. Absolutely loaded. But Jay Mayava, I didn't drop him out. He's been playing well enough up to this point and didn't play that bad against Notre Dame for me to really look at him and go like, oh yeah, you're dropping out completely. They have the second best passing offense in the country. You played a really good Notre Dame team who's probably going to run the table. Like they're a very good team. So there's no real negativity towards that. But he comes in at either number 9 or 10. And again, I'm not going to talk about this in depth. So we're just going to go over some specific spots on this list. Taylon Green, he's a guy here. I have him at number 8 right now. Could fluctuate a little bit. Taylon Green played ridiculous against Texas A&M this past weekend. And with Bobby Petrino in as head coach, that kind of got me excited in a roundabout way because I'm not saying he is him, but Taylon Green working under Bob Petrino, who coached Lamar Jackson, that's pretty fun. That's pretty fun. Taylon Green is a great athlete. He's a very good thrower, still improving, still needs to develop fully as a thrower. But some of the plays he was making on the run and with his arm were really, really impressive against a then 4th-ranked Texas A&M team. Like the last top 25 team Arkansas played at home, they got blitzed, and that was against Notre Dame, who lost to Texas A&M actually. So you have Texas A&M coming to town, who doesn't have the greatest defense in the world. So you could kind of see an idea where the score gets run up a little bit. And A&M did put up 45 points in this game, but Arkansas put up 42. And Taylon Green had 5 touchdowns in this game. All 5 touchdowns in this game for Arkansas came from Taylon Green. 42 points, 5 total touchdowns for him. had over 300 yards total offense, 256 passing, 85 yards rushing. And some of those yards he picked up on the ground were massive, massive gains. Like there was one play, they had the ball all the way backed up. I got to see what yard line they were at again. They were all the way back at their own 12-yard line on 4th and 5 with 2:44 left in the game. And he picked up 49 yards on the ground. Rolled out to his left, picked up 49 yards on the ground. He is very, very good at rolling out to his left. Unlike against Tennessee where he fumbled the ball twice rolling out to his left, he is most of the time very good at rolling out to his left. And he's a great athlete. And the thing is, he's got such long strides that it's damn near impossible to get a good angle on him to bring him down. That's like the biggest problem defenses have is bringing him down in the open field because he takes such long strides. You just can't track him down. You can't get the angle on him because you think you got a good angle on him. Well, then guess what? He's already covered 5 yards by the time you figured out your angle on him. So, and he's got a good arm, like plus arm. I'm not sitting here, I shouldn't say like plus arm or anything, but it's a good arm. He has a good arm. And the running ability definitely helps with that, but he can zip the ball in some tight windows there. And I'm excited to see how he improves as the rest of the season goes on because he's very talented. He's very talented. I think he's only going to get better with Bobby Petrino at coach. Because Sam Pittman, likable guy, he's a very conservative coach, I guess you could say. He's an off-the-line guy. He wants to run the ball. He doesn't want anything too flashy. And Taylor Green would, produce some of the flashy plays. But that's not his style of play as Taylor Green. Bobby Petrino will feed into Taylor Green. We saw him play well against Tennessee. Saw him play well against Texas A&M. They play Auburn this week. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. Who else do we want to talk about? John Mateer. He played better against South Carolina, which was expected. South Carolina's defenses. I mean, South Carolina, I caught myself. South Carolina's defense actually plays pretty damn hard. They got some good players on that defense. Their offense struggles, but their defense, they play tough, and they always give their offense a chance to be in games. Like, they played some tough teams recently. Like, you look at the games, they played Missouri. They just played Oklahoma. They played LSU the previous week. They played Vanderbilt. I know the Vanderbilt game was a mess, but that was because Lenore Sells got hurt, so defense was always on the field. God got tired, and Vanderbilt just ran up the score. That happens when your offense is not on the field for very long, and defense is not on the bench for very long and not really resting. That can happen. But they give them a chance to play, give them a chance in every single game. And John Mateer looked better in this game against South Carolina. He didn't do anything flashy, really, in this game, but he didn't throw any picks. And he was efficient with the ball, and he was smart with the ball. And I think that's the main thing you need to see from John Mateer, because that Texas game, we talk about winning the Heisman, throwing 3 picks against Texas, and having your touchdown interception ratio be 6-6, that's not great. But the difference between Mateer and a guy like Carson Beck, like we talked about before, Mateer is very talented. He has a better arm than Carson Beck. He's a better athlete than Carson Beck. He just needs to tone it down a little bit. I'm not saying you're telling him he needs to stop being who he is, because that's what got him to this point. And I don't want to neuter him or put a muzzle on him or anything, but sometimes a little too much aggression is not a good thing. Sometimes it can be an awesome thing, but in games like Texas, that's not a very good thing. It's not a good thing. But he was more down to earth in this game against South Carolina. Garrett Nussmeier, he played much better. This is one of his best games against. I know they lost 31-24, but this was Garrett Nussmeier's best game since probably, if we're discounting the Southeastern Louisiana game, because it was Southeastern Louisiana, it was his best game since Clemson. This was his best game since the Clemson game. And that was week 1. Southeastern Louisiana, I expect him to look as good as he did against Southeastern Louisiana. Florida, he threw a bad pick. Louisiana Tech, he underthrew the crap out of a ball in a deep throw down the near sideline. Because there's some talk about an oblique injury. I don't know what stems from that, if that's true or not. I don't know. But he looked good in this game. He looked really good in this game. I thought he looked decent against South Carolina last weekend, but this game against Vanderbilt, he was making some really, really tough throws, strong throws. Didn't really force the issue all too much. Remained tall in the pocket despite pressure barreling down on him. I thought he looked really good. Sellers, they played Oklahoma, as we said before. The thing I keep saying about Lenore Sellers is that I want to see continued development from him. I want to see him make some of the shorter throws, because I know he's got a cannon arm. The quarterbacks that are raw, more often than not, they can make the very impressive throws. They can make insanely impressive throws. The ball's deep down the field. Those are the throws they can make. The underneath throws, the shorter throws, are the throws they tend to struggle with. I don't know why that happens, but that's what the case seems to be. I mean, look at Josh Allen when he was at Wyoming. Look at Josh Allen when he first got to the league. He wasn't very good at hitting those underneath routes, the shorter routes. Look at Drew Aller, like we talked about before. He's not very good at hitting the underneath routes, the shorter routes. He's good at hitting the lasers down the field. I want to see that from Lenore Sellers. I don't need to see massive gains from Lenore Sellers. And right now, it's basically him versus everybody because that offense is not very good. They can't run the ball really well. Nick Harbor's a very good wide receiver, but apart from that, they got his brother, who's I think he's 70 pounds heavier than. But apart from that, their offensive line's not very good. Now, Sellers, there are times when he tries to do a little too much, and Taylor Green kind of gets in the same habit of doing this as well because they're so athletic. They try to think they can do everything, and sometimes that's bad because they take massive sacks. And Taylor Green took an 18-yard sack in the game against Texas A&M. Lenore Sellers, if I remember correctly, didn't do that in this game, but there has been times when he's done that, and he's the second most sacked quarterback in college football behind Jackson Arnold. And you could go with that. Like, sacks are not 100% on the O-line. They're not 100% on the quarterback. It's a 50-50 split right down the middle. And Sellers, when he's able to make someone miss in the backfield, it's some of the best plays you're ever going to see. Lenore Sellers, when he is dead to rights, he's one of the best quarterbacks at making something happen when nothing's there. And he did that against Oklahoma. Like, there were times Oklahoma blitzed him, I want to say like 70% of the time. That's not accurate, but that's what it felt like anyways. And he was more often than not able to create something out of nothing. And like, there were sometimes the ball would be, the defender from Oklahoma would get there the exact same time the ball did when he snapped it from shotgun. Like, that's how quick Oklahoma was getting through. And he didn't play like a lights out game or anything. He took what the defense gave him, went 17-25, 124, one touchdown, no picks. Like, that's what I'm fine with seeing from him. He had a touchdown pass from I think it was 4 to 7 yards out. I can't remember the exact number, how far it was out. But he is still developing, and those plays, those shorter plays, like we talked about last week against LSU, with the bubble screen, when he saw the defender crashing down hard. If he threw that bubble screen, it's probably getting housed the other direction, at least getting broken up. There's a 0% chance of it getting completed. So he smartly tucks it and gets what he can to the left side. That's what I want to see from Lenore Sellers. I don't need to see the laser throws down the field. I want to see him continuing to develop as a intermediate thrower, because those are the hardest throws. It's not the deep throw, it's the intermediate stuff. And if he does that, then he can be a top 10 pick for sure. I don't know if he's going to come out this year. I'm not 100% confident saying he's going to stay at South Carolina, though. I don't know if he's staying at South Carolina or going somewhere else. I don't know. But yeah, he's fun. But right now, I just think the top 3 guys, in whatever order you want to have them, I wouldn't be mad if you had Lenore Sellers at number 1, but Ty Simpson, Fernando Mendoza, Dante Moore, those guys are the guys. And right now, if I had to give out a Heisman Trophy, I would give it to Ty Simpson. He's playing the best football in the country right now. And what I love about Ty Simpson is that he's fearless. He is not the biggest dude in the world, but he is really good mechanically, and he's so calm when things break down around him. And the crazy thing is, he only has 7 starts to his name. That's ridiculous. Some of the plays he's making at Alabama are plays that a guy that only has 7 starts to his name should not be making. Simple as that. He's making so many great throws, so many smart decisions, and he's just so calm, cool, and collected every single time. And the way Alabama's playing right now, they've beaten 4 straight top 25 teams. They beat Vanderbilt. They beat Tennessee this past weekend. They beat Georgia, and they beat, who was the other one in there? Missouri. They went on the road and beat Missouri. They went on the road and beat Georgia. 4 straight top 25 wins. And I believe they've got one more this week. Or no, I think they're playing South Carolina. Now I'm thinking about it. Yeah, they play South Carolina this weekend. So that'll be fun, which South Carolina's defense, again, has some good players on. They play hard and give their offense a chance every single time. But the way Ty Simpson's playing, the way that passing offense is working, I have a hard time believing anybody's going to stop Alabama at this point in time. Like, if I had to pick a team that I think could win the national championship, I would probably pick Alabama. And the thing that's kind of crazy is that I've seen all these numbers from Alabama fans, of all people, Talking about like Ty Simpson since week 2. So post Florida State game, since week 2. And they're posting his numbers out there. Like, he didn't play good against Florida State. Given to what we're seeing right now, he didn't play very good at all. But if you're just going strictly off numbers, his numbers against Florida State were not bad. They weren't bad numbers. Like, 254 yards, 2 touchdowns. He didn't play good. I'm not saying you're going like, he played good. He played great in that stuff. Look at his numbers. He didn't play good at all against Florida State. But I think it's funny when we're just posting blind numbers that you take out that game because his yards and passing touchdowns, interceptions were not bad. He didn't complete a very high number of his passes. Very inaccurate in that game against Florida State, which is so crazy the trajectories that both teams have gone on since that game. But, yeah, Ty Simpson's just ridiculous. And Dante Moore and Fernando Mendoza, they beat the crap out of 2 crappy teams this weekend, so that didn't really surprise me. And it didn't surprise me that Alabama beat the crap out of Tennessee, really, because Tennessee's defense is the worst in the SEC, if I'm not mistaken, at least against the pass. Maybe total, and their pass defense like 3rd from bottom or something. I can't remember the exact number. But, yeah, all 3 top guys beat the crap out of their teams. And right now, Ty Simpson is my quarterback 1. And I like Dante Moore. I like Fernando Mendoza. I like Lenore Sellers. But just watching Ty Simpson gets me excited. I get really excited watching Ty Simpson play football. And if he keeps playing like he is right now, then ruling out a Heisman and a national championship that's not impossible to think about. That's not impossible to think about. They got South Carolina, LSU, Oklahoma, but LSU and Oklahoma both at home, and they got the Iron Bowl in Auburn, so that'll be tough. But if they run the table, give him the Heisman, and then the College Football Playoff, that'll be interesting. But because I think like Indiana's good, I think Ohio State's really good. Like Miami's not as good as I thought they were, I guess. But man, he's playing great. He's playing great. And Heisman favorite right now would be Ty Simpson. And then my 2 following that would probably be Fernando Mendoza from Indiana. And do I just want to do Dante Moore? I mean, I don't really want to do Dante because he didn't play great against Indiana. Like I talked about before, he played good. He played great against Penn State, but against Indiana, that was not Dante Moore. Against Rutgers, he beat the crap out of him. He threw a pick in the game, but beat the crap out of Rutgers. He had 4 passing touchdowns in that game. Like it went about as expected after a team like Oregon got beat by double digits against Indiana at home. It was expected that they beat the next team they played by 50 points. It just happened to be Rutgers, so they beat him by 50 points. Oh, my goodness. But, yeah, again, you can check out the full blog post on LoganBlackmanShow.com. I'm going to have the video out for you sometime today, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and all that great stuff. But, yeah, I wanted to move. Now we got to move on. We go from college football to the NFL draft. Next level will be obviously the NFL. The Bills, my team, they have been they had a bye week last week, thank God. And I wanted to talk about the Falcons game, but I didn't have time again. I was not avoiding the smoke or anything. I was not avoiding anything. I just literally didn't have any time. They haven't been playing good at all, those 2 games. And the Falcons and Patriots, more so the Patriots, are a good football team. The Patriots are really good, which we said going in. I said going in. Said that they'd be good. I didn't think they'd be as good as what they were right now. Like Drake May is playing awesome, which that doesn't surprise me. Drake May playing awesome is the least surprising thing I could say about the New England Patriots at this point in time. Because Drake May is awesome. Drake May was good in spurts last year. Like, even with Jane Daniels doing as much as he did, I still made sure to remind everybody that I had him as my QB1 going into that draft process. Because I could see things that Drake May was doing, oh yeah, this guy's going to be good. And now I'm scared. Like, when the Patriots drafted him, it was like, man, I kind of like Tua and Aaron Rodgers and whoever else the Jets could bring out. Like, that made it fun. But now the Patriots got a good quarterback, and it's not fun. I like Mac Jones. I like Cam Newton, which I still do feel bad for Mac Jones, unironically, because I do think he got kind of screwed with Joe Judge and Matt Patricia being his co-ops coordinators in his second year in the NFL. That was kind of a low blow from the Patriots coaching staff. But I digress. That's not what we're here to talk about now. The Bills right now are a mess. And I'm trying to navigate it as best I can because of the fact the Bills, every single year for the past 5 years, have had a 2-game losing streak. Every single year the past 5 years, they've had a 2-game losing streak at some point. But it's not the 2-game losing streak that's a problem. It's how they're playing. That's a problem. And how Josh Allen's been looking these past couple games. Because against the Patriots, he put up a good stat line, but I don't think he played that great. Threw a bad pick in that game as well. Falcons game, he stunk. Just keep it 100 here. He was not very good against the Atlanta Falcons. And the more I keep looking at this offense with Joe Brady, and last year was fun, but the Bills, and I was confident going into the year because it's still the Bills, and the Bills are still the heavy favorites to win the AFC East, and until they don't win it, they should always be the heavy favorites to win the AFC East. It's kind of like the Patriots. When the Patriots would struggle back in the day, somebody would creep up the Dolphins or the Jets. They wouldn't do that to the Bills, but they'd creep up the Jets or Dolphins, like, oh, this is their year for the division. Like when Brett Favre came over, when Brady got hurt, like the year Brady got hurt, I'm pretty sure it was Brett Favre's year with the Jets, and they start off really good, and they just fell off the face of the earth the back half of the season. The Dolphins came with Chad Pennington, came with top 5 MVP candidate, which is ridiculous. Not saying it wasn't deserved, but it's just ridiculous thinking about that Chad Pennington was a top 5 MVP candidate at one point in time. But right now, it does feel worse than what it did last year. Because last year, a lot of people are going into the year pretty pessimistic, I would say. I was going in the year more confident than most. Because if you looked at the Bills last season, like they lost a lot of key pieces in regards to big faces like Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, Trey White, Mitch Morse left. Like there were a lot of big pieces from the Bills that they either cut or got rid of. Gabe Davis left. Like there were Stephon Diggs left. Like all these different pieces were leaving, and it just got scorched earth pretty much. If you went on national shows, you talked about how the Bills are going to struggle this year. They ended up winning 13 games. Josh Allen ended up winning the MVP. Like that was my expectation going in because as good of players like Trey White, Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, Mitch Morse, as good as those guys were, the guys they weren't the same guys that they were when the Bills first broke the playoff drought. They were done. And you're seeing that right now with Trey White. You're kind of seeing it right now with Jordan Poyer because he was forced to play against the Falcons this past week because Cole Bishop went out hurt. Like Stephon Diggs, that was another situation. That's not a player thing. And I was confident with that move, more so because that back half when Ken Dorsey took over the year before, that back half of the season, Khalil Shakir outgained Stephon Diggs in yards and touchdowns. So I was kind of confident in that aspect. I never thought Khalil Shakir was a better receiver than Stephon Diggs, but I thought they would be able to do a good job with Shakir as the guy and addressing that position in the draft as well with Keon Coleman. I wanted Brian Thomas Jr. I was very adamant about wanting Brian Thomas Jr., but if you look at the draft spot at that point in time, it was very hard for the Bills to make a move up the board because who was realistically trading back with them from that spot? That just makes it kind of hard there. Keon was not, Xavier Legette was a guy that I wanted other than if I didn't get Brian Thomas. And Xavier Worthy got brought up in conversation. Adonai Mitchell got brought up in conversations. Keon Coleman I never really thought about, if I'm being 100% honest, in regards to the Bills needing a wide receiver, but he was a big-bodied receiver, super athletic, not the quickest receiver out there, but he was so big, and the Bills just needed a boundary guy that could go up and sky up the ball, and Josh Allen would toss up to him and bring it down. And going into last season, I was like, okay, I like the moves they've made. So now going into this year is like, well, what do you do to improve upon that? Amari Cooper left, which he wasn't a big factor in the Bills' offense last year anyway, so that was fine. Brought in Josh Palmer, which I liked the move of Josh Palmer. In regards to, did I think he was better or worse than the current state of Amari Cooper? I thought he was about the same. So if that was my mindset then, maybe I was thinking of it from I should have been thinking of it from a different perspective. Because the Bills should have gotten somebody that could actually push the field a little bit. Because right now, they have nobody that can push the field. Like they brought in Elijah Moore. Curtis Samuel's been a healthy scratch most of the season. He was going to be the guy that was supposed to push the field a little bit. He's turned into a gadget guy. Keon Coleman is nothing more than throws down the sideline. He 50-50 chance he comes down with those. He looked really good against the Ravens, but other than that, it hasn't looked good. The receivers can't get open. I want to say the Bills are second from bottom in regards to the receiver separation and stuff like that. And it's getting to a point now where Josh Allen is visibly frustrated. So now he's forcing the issue a little bit. And that's where we've seen the interceptions against the Patriots and Falcons. He's forcing the issue a little bit. And the 2 interceptions he threw against the Falcons were bad interceptions. The one at the end didn't really matter in the grand scheme of things because they already lost the game. They weren't going to come back from that point. It just kind of sucked morale-wise that he threw an interception there. And when he's forcing it, and start thinking about things, that's when you don't play as free, and that's where mistakes tend to happen. Like, the best way I can describe it, and it's a little bit different, but and it's not a fun example, but in a drunk driving accident, who's the one that gets hurt? The one who sees the car coming on and tenses, or the one that's, drunk and not knowing what's going on? The guy who tenses, the guy that's sitting there. It's not the same thing, obviously, but the people that are loose, those are the things that you never see. You rarely see the person drunk driving getting hurt in a drunk driving accident. It's very rare. I'm not saying it happens all the time, but it's very rare. But when you're thinking too much or tensing too much, more often than not, there's going to be some sort of mistake that comes along with it, and that's currently what Josh Allen's doing right now. And it's insanely frustrating. It's insanely frustrating. And they randomly take off James Cook, which that pisses me off to a whole other degree. It's like, they need to save James Cook. Well, you can throw to James Cook. You were initially drafted James Cook with the idea that he could also play slot because that's what he did at part-time at Georgia. Like, you brought him in for that. You were in the draft for a slot receiver, and you drafted him because you could play him as a running back and a slot. And now they just don't throw to him. I know he drops a couple wheel routes every now and again, but he can be a reliable player in the pass game. Like, Ray Davis never needs to see the field again in my eyes. Ty Johnson and James Cook are the only two backs that ever need to touch the field for the Bills. And I'm tired of seeing James Cook sit out these long extended periods for the Bills. I'm really getting sick and tired of that. It's so damn frustrating. And you want to know what happened in this Bills-Falcons game, that is kind of the most alarming with everything? So the Bills scored 14 points. Do you want to know the 2 times the Bills scored in this game? It was their first drive of the first half and their first drive of the second half. Drives of 6 and 9 plays. Scripted. Every time the Bills went off script, 3 and out. Punt after 7 plays. Punt after 5 plays. 3 and out. Josh Allen interception before halftime. Then he got the touchdown in there, but the turnover on downs for 8 plays. Punt, and an interception in the game. So you have 2 touchdowns in there at the beginning of both halves, where your plays are all scripted. So that's where my fear is at this point in time, where my vibe meter is at a point to where I'm kind of feeling like towards the end of Ken Dorsey's era in Buffalo. Like, Joe Brady is not scheming anything open. He's randomly pulling players. Like, James Cook is not on the field for extended periods of time. That just doesn't make any sense why he's not there. The Bills' O-line is good. Josh Allen is very good. Why are we limiting the playmakers Josh Allen has on the field? Because now Josh Palmer's injured. So who is your receiver that's going to be stretching the field? Since last season, I got to make sure I get the right number here because it doesn't seem real. So since 2024, the Bills have 1 passing touchdown of 24 yards. 2020 to 2023, they had 27. Like, that's where it gets kind of scary. And Brandon Beane, who has built this roster, has been the GM since Josh Allen got drafted. He has built this team. And on the radio cut last year, he talked about, I can't remember if it was earlier this offseason or if it was last year. I can't remember. But people were talking about the need for receivers. And he said something along the lines of, I'm paraphrasing, but it was pretty much suck it up, was pretty much the line he said. I can't remember the exact line, exactly, but I'm pretty sure he said something along the lines of suck it up. Like, we don't need to get receivers. Like, even the Chiefs, do they have a superstar wide receiver? No. But you look at guys like Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy, look at Rashee Rice, who's now back. They got guys that can stretch the field. Tyquan Thornton. Like, they got guys that can get deep and stretch the field and make defenses game plan for them. Who was the Bills' guy that defenses are game planning for at wide receiver? I'm not saying none of those guys, Rice, Worthy, Brown, or any of those guys aren't elite receivers. But you still got to prepare for them because they can make you pay if you're falling asleep. Who do the Bills have that can make you pay if you're falling asleep? Khalil Shakir is going to break 1,000 tackles. He's not going to drop a single pass. But apart from that, like Elijah Moore, Keon Coleman doesn't do anything. Josh Palmer's now hurt. Like, who is the guy the Bills are defense are game playing for at wide receiver? Like, even the Ravens, Zay Flowers is a guy you have to game plan for at wide receiver. DeAndre Hopkins, as old as he is, you still have to make sure you know where he is. Joe Burrow, we already talk about the Bengals all the time. You got Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Don't even talk about those guys. Like, the Bills just don't have that guy. And that's what makes it so frustrating at this point in time. Because Josh Allen's, again, visibly frustrated at that fact that Joe Brady can't scheme anybody open. And they're doing these stupid jet sweep handoff things. I don't know where the hell that game plan came from, but it hasn't worked once this season. They've done it 3 times. It hasn't worked 1 time, so probably never do it again. Like, there's times where Joe Brady gets, like, really cute with the play calls, and it's just so infuriating. And right now, it, again, just feels like we're back in the Ken Dorsey era of the Buffalo Bills, and it sucks. Because Ken Dorsey sucked. I don't think Joe Brady's as bad as an offensive coordinator as Ken Dorsey is, or was. Because I don't think he's hired anywhere as an OC now. But his stock is not at its highest at this point in time. Like, you have Josh Allen at quarterback. Let Josh Allen play. The only time he's really cut loose was the end of the game against the Ravens. And that's the best I've seen a quarterback play in that spot in a long time. I know the Ravens defense isn't great, but he was dicing them up during that period. And that was just him going out there and doing it. I guarantee Joe Brady wasn't calling anything during those plays. Josh Allen just going out there and ripping it. Like, let him call his own stuff. And as for the defensive side of things, they can't tackle. They are allergic to tackling. And I know they have a bunch of injuries right now. Like, Ed Oliver's battled injuries. Terrell Bernard went down with an injury against the Falcons. Matt Milano's been out with an injury, which is a shocker. But Maxwell Harrison's been out for the season so far. Torian Strong, who looked really good in the first game against the Ravens, he has a potential career-ending nerve issue. So it's been Trey White and Christian Benford, who hasn't looked anywhere near the Christian Benford we've seen the past few seasons. Trey White and Christian Benford have been burnt toast pretty much all season. Cole Bishop, who I don't think had missed a single snap all year, had just went out injured against the Falcons. So now you got Jordan Poyer going back. Taylor Rapp's allergic to tackling right now. He basically just waits for the offensive player to hit him, and then he just wraps him up and hope he falls down. Like, Daquan Jones on the D-line, he's battled injuries all year. Deion Walker's been awesome on the defensive line, the rookie from Kentucky, and they're getting Michael Hoyt and Larry Ogunjobi back this week from the suspension. But right now, the Bills' defense stinks. And again, injuries are not helping it at all, but there's a lack of speed and a lack of tackling that's going on right now that's going to be really hard for them if they want to keep maneuvering through the season. Like, games against the Chiefs obviously scare me. The game against the Bucks scares me. The Bengals, obviously, I don't care who's playing quarterback. The game's going to scare me. They play the Patriots again. They play the Eagles. Like, Texans, they play them. I know they're playing great right now, but they still got weapons in CJ Stroud, so I'm a little nervous for that. The Panthers game, I'm even scared. And it's not because of who they have at quarterback or they have these insane wealth of weapons or something, but we talk about the lack of tackling. Like, Rico Dowdle's been playing awesome recently. And the way the Bills' tackling situation is going on right now, he could rush for 120 yards in this game. So that's what makes me nervous for the rest of the year, is that they can't scheme anybody open, Josh Allen's getting frustrated, and the defense can't tackle anybody. Like, it's scary times in regards to, like, they've lost 2 games again. They've lost back-to-back games every year in the past 5 seasons. It's just what they do. Which shouldn't be the norm, but that's the norm we're living in right now. But this one feels different than it did last year. And that was after they got blown up by the Ravens and lost to the Texans after that debacle in the goal line. The opposite goal line. And they rattled off wins after that. But you got a tough schedule here. Chiefs are finding their stride again. I mean, the Dolphins suck, and the Jets suck. You got those 2 teams back at the back half of the season as well. But the Bucks, I know they didn't play great against the Lions, but they're still a good football team. Like, CJ Stroud's there with the Texans. The Steelers, they can cause some problems. Bengals, the weapons they have. Defense, not very good, but the weapons they have scares me. Patriots already lost to them. Like, the Eagles, it's an interesting time. It's a very interesting time, and I've seen, like, MVP charts and all that. Josh Allen's not even on there, and you know what? At this point in time, I can't even blame you. Like, there was a point in time in the season where it was like, oh, Josh Allen's walking his way to a second MVP. He got fighting claw his way back for this one because it's looking ropey right now. There's a very small chance at this point in time that I would say Josh Allen could win MVP. who would win MVP at this point, I have no damn clue who I would say win MVP at this point. Just for fun, I would like to say Indiana Jones. That'd be hilarious if Daniel Jones won an MVP. That'd be so damn funny. But, man, college football and the NFL don't make any sense. Colts being as good as they are, it's ridiculous. And I saw someone today say that Anthony Richardson's got to be talking about Jamarcus Russell levels because he was doing the same things. They were terrible with the same group of players on offense. Yeah. And I was talking to my dad the other day. I had the Colts winning 6 games going into the season, if I'm not mistaken. 6-7 wins. They have 6 wins right now. So I have a really hard time thinking they're going to rattle off 11 straight losses or 10 straight losses to finish 6-11. I have a very hard time believing that, especially since they play the Titans next, and they beat the Titans 41-20 when they played Week 3. I have a very hard time believing that they're gonna lose 10 straight games. Titans, Steelers, Falcons, Chiefs, Texans, Jaguars, Seahawks, 49ers, Jaguars, Texans. I mean, they're not going to go 16-1, but they're not going to go 6-11 either. So I think just for fun, I'll say Daniel Jones wins MVP. Just for fun. Oh my goodness. Quarterbacks in the NFL this year have been weird. It's just been very weird. Like, the Vikings quarterback situation, that's been weird. Carson Wentz didn't play great. I guess we could say that against the Philadelphia Eagles last week. J.J. McCarthy's, I haven't seen anything for tonight because I know they're playing the Chargers tonight. I don't know what's going on in that game. I've recorded this before the game started, so I don't know who's starting at quarterback for the Vikings. Could be McCarthy, could be Wentz. Max Brosmer, liked him coming out of the draft. Not as like a very high guy, but I liked Max Brosmer, so maybe he starts. But Tua and the Dolphins, he just needs to stop talking. Like, Tua needs to get a microphone away from him. Whoever's allowing Tua to talk to the media needs to stop because then he's bad at it. He's becoming very, very bad at it. So just stop letting him talk. And Mike McDaniel, I think, is at a point right now where he's kind of surprised that he's not fired yet. And if Joe Brady's going to leave, I think, regardless. I think he's going to either become a head coach somewhere or be fired. I think one of those two. He's not going to be the Bills OC next year. I have a very hard time believing that. If somehow, some way, they could get Mike McDaniel to the Buffalo, I would be perfectly okay with that. Kind of gives me the vibes of like a Norv Turner, Cliff Kingsbury type guy. Like, good OC, probably not the best head coach, but good OC. Good OC. But, yeah, the Dolphins stink. Quinn Ewers, I mean, I said before the season started, or before the draft process, I thought the Dolphins would be a very good place for him to go. So hopefully you can see him play a little bit, because he came in last week against the Browns. See how he looks the rest of the season if he does get any more chance to play. Tua is starting, but the expectation is for him to not throw 10 interceptions. So high bar there. Very high bar there. But it's just a weird time. Like, if you were to rank the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL right now, like, Daniel Jones would be in there. Drake May would be in there. Then probably like Dak Prescott's going to be in there. Matt Stafford's probably in there. And then you throw away like Baker Mayfield. Like, it's Sam Darnold is in that conversation as well. And speaking on Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield, the clip of Josh Rosen saying there were 9 mistakes taken in front of me popped up on my social media page today. And the more I look at it, the more time passes, the funnier that clip gets. Because I'm going to be 100% honest with you. Not only was there not 9 picks taken in front of him, I don't know if there was a single miss in those first 9 picks. Like, 8 of the 9 guys drafted in front of Josh Rosen have made a Pro Bowl at some point. Like, that, you can't really go like there were 9 mistakes taken in front of me, and then 8 of the 9 have all made a Pro Bowl. And those 9 guys that were drafted in front of him, Baker Mayfield, who was once upon a time the front runner for MVP, which is awesome. I'm cool with that. Then Saquon Barkley, Offensive Player of the Year, was 100 yards away from breaking the Eric Dickerson single-season rushing record. Sam Darnold, who's looking really good with the Seattle Seahawks right now. Denzel Ward, I believe, was once the highest-paid cornerback in the NFL. One of the more underrated cornerbacks in the NFL, at least. Bradley Chubb, good player, just can't stay healthy. That's his big problem. He just can't stay healthy. Quentin Nelson was on a historic tear when he first came into the league. He was on, I think it was like consecutive All-Pro teams with it was him and Barry Sanders or something like that. I can't remember exactly. Josh Allen, MVP, all that stuff. Roquan Smith, one of the best linebackers in the NFL. And then Mike McGlinchey was drafted 9th, who I would say has been a serviceable tackle in the NFL. Now, he's been a good player. Not Pro Bowl level player, but with the 49ers and Broncos, he's been a good player. So if you're looking at just that, 9 mistakes taken in front of me, there are 8 Pro Bowlers in there, 1 MVP, 1 Offensive Player of the Year, and potentially another MVP with Baker Mayfield and or Sam Darnold. And with that, talking about Sam Darnold real quick, I do want to talk about this because it's been a very big talking point recently. And it's been about the Vikings with Sam Darnold and like should the Vikings have re-signed Sam Darnold and all that stuff. And I was very much on the train of not re-signing Sam Darnold because Sam Darnold was wanting a multi-year extension. Vikings just drafted the guy 10th overall that year. I said no. And you know what? After seeing what Sam Darnold is doing right now, at this point in time, I don't know how you can make a firm assessment on anything because we don't know what J.J. McCarthy is at all. We've seen it. We had a game against the Bears where he looked really, really good, and he had the fourth quarter comeback and all of that great stuff, and he looked rough against the Falcons. And I'm not sitting here going like he's been great this year or he needs to have our undivided attention, but in 2 games, 301 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 3 picks. 2 picks came against the Falcons. Had 3 total touchdowns against the Bears. Like, we got to give him time. Like, I know we're all about instant gratification at this point in time. But like I said before, there was every chance that Sam Darnold wasn't the same Sam Darnold if he goes somewhere else that season. Like, we've seen one-hit wonders in the NFL before, and I didn't want to put that on Sam Darnold. I brought it up with Sam Darnold because I was like, it's a possibility. And if you're a team like the Vikings, and you have some good players on your team, like some good players, and you have a quarterback coming in on a rookie contract, like that gives you wiggle room to work with to build the rest of your roster because the Vikings do have some holes on that roster. And I know like hindsight's a beautiful thing, especially with how Sam Darnold's playing and now J.J. McCarthy's been hurt the entire year for the most part. But you got to give it more time than 2 games. Like, and again, I don't want to take anything away from Sam Darnold. I think he's looked fantastic up to this point in the season. And I think he's playing for the Seahawks are playing really, really good football. And against the Texans this past week, he was making some crazy throws. Like, Sam Darnold is a very, very good quarterback right now, and I love that for him because all he said when he was with the Jets is that he just needs confidence. He is severely lacking confidence. Like, the Jets situation was just a mess from the start. They gave him the start week 1 against the Lions, threw a pick 6 on his very first throw of his career. They won the game, but the rest of the year were just bad. Just a bad football team. I think you have the whole mono thing. You have the whole I'm seeing ghosts thing. You have Adam Gase as a head coach. Like, there was never really any firm consistency with that. And it was Todd Bowles when he was a rookie, I think. Was that who it was when he first got drafted? I can't remember exactly what the situation was out there, but just no confidence out there. Then they traded you when Robert Saleh came in. They traded you to the Panthers to draft your replacement, and they dragged that out for a while, a lot longer than what it probably should have been. And then you go to the Panthers, then they also trade for a guy who was drafted first overall in your same draft class. You lose out to him for the starting job too. Like, it just kept getting lower and lower. And then you go to the 49ers to be a backup, a stable franchise, because one thing the Jets and Panthers are in recent years is unstable. So you go to the 49ers to stabilize yourself, get an opportunity with the Vikings with a lot of great people around you with like Kevin O'Connell, great head coach. Josh McCown's there, who was with Sam Darnold when he was a rookie with the Jets. You had Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, Aaron Jones, very experienced running back. Like, you have good pieces, a solid offensive line. The pieces were there for him to be good. It was just a matter for him to go ahead and take it, and he took it. And as the season went on, people were talking about giving him a contract extension and all that stuff. And I was, again, talking about how probably let's wait it out a little bit and let's go with the rookie. And Sam Darnold can go somewhere else and get his big contract because we're in a situation right now with a rookie quarterback and a good deal. Let's just try to build that. And you traded up to get him. I don't care if it was one spot. You traded up to get J.J. McCarthy. You could not bail on it after 1 year of Sam Darnold playing good for the first time in his career. After he'd been in the league since 2018. Like, to me, there was not enough time there to say that, hey, give him a long-term extension. He was a backup the year before. He bounced around as a backup and a starter between the Jets and Panthers. There was not enough there for me to go, like, this 1 year is enough for me to go, yes, give him a long-term extension and bail on the guy you drafted earlier this year. Especially after the playoff game. But again, hindsight's a beautiful thing, and we just gotta just give it time. It's not. We don't need all instant gratification stuff. There was a very low chance that the Vikings were going to be as good as what they were last year. Everything just worked for them last year. And when things work like that, it's very hard to repeat that the coming season. Now, the Vikings just alternated wins and losses. They've one lost, one lost, one lost. They play the Chargers tonight. We'll have to see how they do there. They play the Lions again, so there's a very good chance to beat the Chargers and lose the Lions next week. Very good chance of that happening. So we're just going to have to wait and see. And win-loss, win-loss, win-loss it all the way to the end of the season. And just go from there. But I don't want to see the instant gratification stuff, or like we need instant gratification now. We need him to be good now. Let him develop. It will figure itself out. If he's not good, well, guess what? You can restart, draft another quarterback, and then you're like, well, we're back at square one. But who knows? We don't know what tomorrow holds for ourselves or our NFL teams. Don't know anything. So hindsight again, you go, obviously you should have signed Sam Darnold, but that wasn't the obvious choice at that point in time when you just drafted the guy 10th overall. Like, a lot of different factors at play there. But, yeah, crazy, crazy stuff. Absolutely crazy stuff. But I think that's all I've got for you today on this Friday edition of the Logan Blackman Show. I'm trying to look at anything else that I've missed throughout my camera roll or something. We got Aaron Rodgers going back to taking on Jordan Love. I can't remember if the game's in Green Bay or in Pittsburgh or whatever. But, yeah, that's going to be a crazy one. I got to look up that one because I've got to see if that game's in Green Bay because that will be ridiculous if it's in Green Bay. Oh, no, it's in Pittsburgh. Okay. It is in Pittsburgh. That would have been absolutely crazy. But them losing the Bengals last week, speaking of the Steelers, that was crazy. That was freaking crazy. But, yeah, I think that's all I've got. I mean, I suck in fantasy football this year. I'm brutal in fantasy football this year. I'm not good in any of my leagues this year. So that's fun. But, yeah, I think that's all I've got. I've seen a lot of comparisons with, like, Julian Sand. He's been playing great for Ohio State right now. But, I'm not ready for Heisman talks for Julian Sand yet. But he could go to New York for the ceremony. I wouldn't be mad about that at all. I just don't know if I would give him the Heisman nod. He could be my third place guy. I would go Ty Simpson, Fernando Mendoza, then Julian Sand, probably at this point. Jeremiah Love can get some love in there as well. The running back from Notre Dame. He can get some love. Jordan Tyson can get some love in there. Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, Mekhi Lemon. Like all those guys. All those guys. Great. We got a lot of good players in college football. Yeah. So that's all I've got. That's all I've got for you today on this Friday edition of Logan Blackman Show. I do hope you enjoyed the show. If you didn't, I sincerely apologize. Try to be better next time. And yeah, we will try to be better next time. Make sure, again, to check out the YouTube channel, check out the YouTube video, check out the blog post on LoganBlackmanShow.com. That'll be available for you to check out, so make sure you go and check that out. Also, make sure to check out all the different social media accounts that we mentioned before. Make sure to check out Believe in Iowa as well. I've been Logan Blackman, and I will see you guys later. Peace.